Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this particular video, we'll be looking into zero shot prompting, one shot prompting, and few shot prompting, which are nothing but techniques of prompt engineering. So, these are the basic techniques that everyone should know who is learning prompt engineering, and using these techniques, we can simply tackle multiple scenarios of handling the response format as well as the understanding of the large language models. So, we'll be first looking at the zero shot prompting technique. Now, what exactly it is? Let's have a look at the definition first. Over here, it's a type of prompting technique in which, inside the prompt, you do not provide any examples. Here, no examples are given, just the instructions are jotted down. Now, if you have seen my previous video on the art of prompt engineering, where I have shown you how basically we can write a prompt. So, there I have told you the three components of a prompt: system prompt, user prompt, and the assistant prompt. All these three components will be included in zero shot prompting. Here, we are only going to provide the instructions for the large language model to follow with the input variables that we want to input into the LLM. For example, if I want the large language model to summarize the given paragraph into one single statement, then in that case, inside the prompt instructions, I would simply write summarize the given paragraph in one single sentence. That's it. Here only instructions are provided. We won't be explicitly defining any examples. For example, I would just provide a paragraph and then how to output it into one single statement. I would just provide an example. Here, no examples are given. So I hope you might have got a basic idea of what exactly zero shot prompting is. Now let me make the agenda clear. We'll be writing a prompt which will take a query. It can be a statement or a paragraph, and the large language model should take out all the nouns from that particular sequence. It should return the nouns in the form of a list. Whatever be the number, it should return it in the form of a list. So now we will be writing a prompt for it. For now, just ignore this particular code. Just focus on this particular prompt. Under the system tag, we'll be writing the system instruction, what exactly the large language model has to behave like. Under the user tag, we'll be simply writing the inputs that we are going to provide to the large language model. We might provide the instructions of the output format also inside the user prompt or inside the system prompt. And then we'll keep the assistant tag as it is. We won't be writing anything inside it. So let me write the prompt for this particular scenario. You are a smart assistant. You will be given a sequence. It can be a sentence or a paragraph. Your task: provide a list of all the nouns that are present in the give provided sequence. So here we have simply defined how the large language model should act and what exactly is the agenda for it. Next, we'll be writing the user prompt. Under this, we'll simply write the inputs that we are going to provide. So we'll write, here is the given sequence. Let me clear it with the output format. Strictly provide a list of all the nouns without any explanation. Now over here I have defined this particular prompt. Now let's try to provide a query, a simple query, and let's check whether it provides whatever we require. So here we go with our query. A person walks to the beach and watches the sunset. Let's try to check whether we get a list of nouns from it. Let's execute this, and we are going to call llama 3.170 billion versatile model from the Grok API. I have already made a video on accessing large language model using the Grok AI inference API. So if you have not watched it yet, please watch it from the Gen AI playlist on my channel. Let's execute this cell, and over here you can see what it has given as the output. The output is something like this. Over here it has provided the list of nouns to us: person, beach, and the sunset. And yes, it is exactly correct. Now what if I don't provide it with any noun? So let's provide this letter A and let's execute it. So in this particular case it is returning none as the output. But now what I want is, I want the output in the form of a Python list. Let me show you. Something like this. It should provide the list of nouns in this way. So for this I'll have to provide the output format. Either I can simply provide the output format over here, or I can provide it with the help of few short examples. So either we can provide the output instructions, or we can simply provide the few short examples to it. Also we can provide the case where we don't have any nouns present inside this particular query. So in that case it should return an empty list, something like this. So we can show it with the help of example, or we can define the output instructions. So for some use cases it is better to apply the few short examples, and you will get to see the boost in the accuracy. Now over here in our case, let's try to solve this particular problem with the help of the one-shot prompting technique. First, I'll simply solve the problem of getting the list of nouns in the Python list format. So if I provide this particular query, it should provide me output in the form of a Python list, and it should be a list of strings: person, beach, and sunset. So now let's try to write a prompt. Let's try to add some example. Here in this particular case, we'll simply provide one single example. So it will be called as one shot prompting technique. So here is the template for it. One shot prompting technique involves one single example. So basically till here, it will be the one and the same as of zero shot prompting: system, user, and assistant prompt. Now since we are going to provide one example, we'll be adding on the user tag and the assistant tag. Why? Because we'll be providing one user question, one sample user question, and one sample assistant answer. Okay, so over here you can see we have the system prompt, then we have the user prompt, then we have the assistant prompt. Till here you can see it's same as zero shot prompting technique. We have add on these two tags, that is the user prompt and assistant prompt. Now why we are doing this? Because we are going to define example, which will include a user question, an example user question, and an example answer for that particular user question. So for that we have added the user prompt and the assistant prompt tags. So what I will do is I'll simply copy the system prompt as it is that we had defined earlier, and then we'll reserve this particular user tag and the assistant tag for our example. And then under this particular user tag I'll simply paste in the previous prompt things, like here is the given sequence and we are passing the dynamic query over here: strictly provide a list of all the nouns without any explanation. So this was already defined in our previous prompt. Now what we'll do is we'll simply define a sample user query example. So let me paste the same thing over here, but instead of the dynamic query, we'll simply define a static example. Let's take the same example over here. We'll copy this, and over here we'll paste it. And what answer we expect for this particular query is the list of all the nouns. So we'll define that under the assistant tag. So I'll simply define the output. Over here you will have to simply write list of values of the nouns. So first noun is our person, word. Then next we have the beach and the sunset. So you can see I have simply defined the output in the format that I want. Now, by giving this particular example, the LLM will properly understand what exactly has to be done. Since it contains only one single example, it will be called as one shot prompting. Now let's try to define a query and we'll pass on the dynamic query next, and let's check whether the prompt has got improved and the LLM provides our expected answer or not. So let me write the query. So here is the example. A child plays in the park and laughs loudly. So now let's try to execute this particular cell. So now our prompt is ready. Let's try to pass the prompt in the LLM and let's check what answer do we get. So let's execute. Cool. You can see over here now we have got the list of noun in the form of Python list because we have defined the examples. Because of the example, it becomes more clear for it and it try to follow every single instruction that you provide. It understands from that particular example that what exactly is the expectation. So I hope this one shot prompting is clear to you all. Now let me define one more query over here. Let me write a single letter A. Since this particular query doesn't contain any noun, let's check whether it returns an empty list. Cool. So you can see by simply providing one single example, it has understood multiple scenarios, multiple things. And of course, by defining examples, your prompt becomes more intelligent. So this was one shot prompting. Now in some use cases there might be multiple scenarios that has to be handled. One single example won't handle all the scenarios or all the test cases. So we can define more than one examples in that particular case. And the way of defining more examples is the same as the format that we have seen in one shot prompting. We just have to replicate these things. We just have to define the user instruction and the assistant output for that particular user prompt. Let me show you one example. Let me copy this. Now we'll try to define a few short prompt. I'll simply copy this particular two things, user prompt and the assistant prompt example, and then I'll simply paste that. Cool. Now in this second example, I'll define one more statement over here. Let's take this particular statement. Now for this statement, obviously what output we have got, you might be remembering the first noun is child and the second noun is park. So you can see we have defined two examples. The very first example was this, the output for that was this, and the second example is this, the output for it is this. So this is how you can define more examples. By defining more examples, you can simply cover more number of cases so that the LLM will single-handedly handle multiple scenarios and test cases. But make a note of a thing that it's not like if you define multiple examples, your LLM will understand it correctly. No, there is a limit of setting the number of example. You will understand that by practice, and it differs in various use cases. So you'll have to try for multiple possible cases of defining n number of examples in your prompt, and you will have to understand it by checking each case that what number of optimal examples your prompt requires so that it becomes the most intelligent. So I hope this thing is clear. and this is what is called as few shot prompting. I hope the zero shot prompting technique with one shot and few shot prompting technique is also clear to you all. I have tried my level best to cover each and every scenario of explaining you about this particular techniques. I hope everything is clear. In the upcoming videos, we'll be looking into more interesting and complex prompting techniques, so stay tuned for that. For more such videos, do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Also hit the bell icon and don't forget to follow me on Instagram. Please join me on Telegram. Thanks for watching. Have a good day ahead.